All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Wright Virtual Visits. My name is Eric Rogers. I'm the manager of events and communications at the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And as you can tell, unlike most normal episodes of Wright Virtual Visits, I am not sitting at a computer. I am not at a desk. We're doing something very different today. This is our first ever completely live episode on site. And we are at Wingspread in Racine, Wisconsin, which we'll talk a little more about. I want to tell you why we're here. The Conservancy works with the Johnson Foundation at Wingspread, as well as the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, every 2 years to convene the directors of about 30 Wright public sites to come here for a summit. Of course, it was supposed to happen in 2020, but it didn't. And for the first time in 4 years, we managed to get the whole crew here. So actually holding the camera today is Anna Kaplan, the executive director of the Grey Cliff Conservancy. And we'll see and hear from Heidi Ruley of the Unity Temple Restoration Foundation as well. Our whole team is here. We are also dealing with some unusual technology challenges as part of this very special live episode. So make sure to bear with us if we have a couple of hiccups along the way, but hopefully things will run smoothly. Of course, I really want to thank our production partner for Wright Virtual Visits. Forever Ready Productions has been just an incredible partner in pulling together all the technical details for these streams and helping us stage manage this, because this is our most complicated and ambitious one of these yet. So thanks so much to Allison and the whole team there. So now I want to introduce our docent here at Wingspread. This is Amanda, and she has been, how long have you been giving tours here?
10 years.
10 years. She is the most knowledgeable person about this building. She took our whole crew around the other night when we first got here for our tour. And Amanda, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Wingspread is?
This home was built by H.F. Johnson Jr. in 1939, and he lived here with his third wife and his 2 children, Sam and Karen.
And this is the Johnson family,
Yes.
Of course, known for the research tower. And
the administration building
exactly.
was the first building that Mr. Johnson commissioned Mr. Wright to build. After Mr. Wright found out that they had this 36 acres here, he suggested to Mr. Johnson, would you like to build a home here? And so they did.
And it's a remarkable house. How large is this house?
A 14,000 square foot home with 4 wings and a wonderful great hall.
Which we're about to see. We're not going to see all 14,000 square feet.
Yes.
That's no way we could do that in a Wright virtual visit. But let's go on inside and see this great hall. So I think Allison is going to go to, sorry, Anna. Of course, you get that wonderful sense of compression and release, and just wait for it.
Really experience the grandeur after you have that compression. You really get that release. And we are in the Great Hall right now, viewing the wonderful chimney that houses 4 fireplaces on this level. We'll go upstairs and see the 5th one on the mezzanine.
Tell us about this remarkable piece here.
This is our kettle. It's really just a visual and something that represents the heart of the home. It really wasn't used for cooking, but the family loved to entertain. And when they did, they had a liner made so they could bring a hot item out from the kitchen and serve their guests a beverage, something like cider or cocoa. So it was able to be utilized. Swings out so you could start the fire. Just a really special visual.
Did they ever actually start fires here?
They did. At this time, only 2 fireplaces are working.
And I think we'll see one of them working when we wrap up. Of course, you've got this grand monumental fireplace here. And then we're in this incredibly tall, great hall. So we're actually going to go up to the mezzanine now, and we'll see it from a different angle and see one of the first very special touches that was a client request from the children of the Johnsons. So go on up, Annie, and we will follow you. Hi, say hi. All right, so we've reached the mezzanine. Tell us about this.
So this is the fifth fireplace within this chimney, and it's a vertical fireplace, as you can see. Beautiful birch logs are displayed, and we're what Mr. Wright said they were to burn, although he forgot about how you start a fire. You don't start it at the top like a candle, you start it at the bottom, and when a fire starts to burn, it turns to ash. And so the first time they lit the fire is burning away and they're enjoying it, and all of a sudden the log fell out and they had to throw it out over the deck. So it's a beautiful visual and we really love it, but it's not a working fireplace.
So one time use.
Yes.
So there's something else really remarkable here that I think people can see. The spiral staircase.
The spiral staircase leads up to the crow's nest, which was a request of the children's. They had grandparents that had remodeled the farmhouse and they had put a cupola on the top of the farmhouse, and the children loved to go up into that space. So they said, could we have something like that here at Wingspread? Really special child-sized space, and a great way for you to see the aerial view, which is a pinwheel and not a cross, and you don't really see that at all times ground level. Sam, as an 11-year-old boy, could be in the crow's nest, and his father was a pilot. He could be circling the building. They had two-way radios that they could talk to each other. So just a really special child-sized space that also houses a cabinet that the children could exchange notes in.
So we had hoped to be able to go up there live during this visit, but the technology didn't quite cooperate. So we actually have a short video recording that we got the other day of us climbing up there and letting you kind of see the view. So Allison, can we roll that video?
Welcome to the crow's nest. One of the features that the children requested in this home, a very fun child-sized space with fantastic views of the prairie, glass that was manufactured in Pennsylvania to acquire those curves and shipped back here. Can point out our little cabinet that was put in so the children could exchange notes. A fun little spot.
You can really see the cool pinwheel arrangement of the whole house from up here too. All right, so that was a little taste of the crow's nest. I think one of the most unique and outstanding features of Wingspread. So now we've walked down one of the wings. Which wing is this, and what was here?
This is the second-story wing that houses the master bedroom, a sitting room, and this space, which was Mrs. Johnson's bedroom. And it houses this wonderful model made out of Legos of Wingspread.
So tell us about this model, Amanda.
A young man got a hold of a floor plan and did this all on his own, and then expressed that he had made this, and so for a bit we displayed it. He generously allowed us to, and then we've purchased it, and I'm so glad because I think it's a really great way to see the complete layout, and you do get to see the swimming pool, which is a really special part of our property as well.
Which is not open this early in the season, so we're not going to visit that in person.
Not in March.
You can also see the original carport configuration. You were telling me about this, right?
Exactly. The carports were opened up. This is original, and we did close them off and turn them into offices after we turned this building into the conference center in 1959.
So we're out in this wing right now,
Exactly.
correct?
We are right here.
Excellent. So obviously there's something special out there at the end. Should
We're
we
gonna
go
go
check
see
it out?
the cantilever and our Juliet balcony.
All right. So here we're standing out over thin air, right?
We are standing on a cantilever in Karen's bedroom.
And out here is a little balcony. Tell us why that's there.
Another request of the children. Karen knew that Mr. Wright had used those and loved them. And he said, when she requested, she shall have her balcony. Her suitors could throw up a ladder and rescue her from her bedroom.
We don't know if that ever happened,
No.
but it makes a really nice story. And what a beautiful light-filled space.
Wonderful views of the prairie. And Mr. Wright liked to say that it was like being on the prow of a ship sailing out over the sea of the prairie.
And of course, we have some geese out here that we can hear. They might be coming through.
But just wonderful views. Most people say she has the best space, that she got the best bedroom.
I think as bedrooms in this house go, I would have to agree.
I would
Although
too.
the Great Hall is my favorite space. So
I love that space as well. But
So-
if you for sleeping.
I don't think you would sleep there, but there's no
No.
better place to cozy up by a fire, have a nice cocktail. A little early for that this morning, but I think we are going to go sit by the fire, and we will actually be ready to take some questions. So please, if you're watching this, ask us some questions in the comments on Facebook, and we will be ready to take those in just a couple of minutes. Now, on the way back there, we're actually going to put up some nice, beautiful springtime photos of the house because we have to switch our connection for the walk back. So we will rejoin you in the Great Hall here shortly. And you'll hear from Heidi. She'll explain what the photos are that you're going to see.
Okay, so these photos are courtesy of the Johnson Foundation, and this is exactly where Eric and Amanda were just standing on the cantilever for the daughter's bedroom. And here's a wonderful shot of the exterior of the home. So again, at the beginning of this episode, they were standing right outside the entrance. There's the beautiful long cantilever of one of the 4 wings at Wingspread. And this is the reflecting pool that, of course, right now is covered because we're not quite out of the winter yet, but it is a water feature and a great place to enjoy the views outside of Wingspread in the nice weather. And there's the crow's nest. You saw the video of them standing in the crow's nest with a great 360 view of the landscape. Going up the stairs to the crow's nest, that's pretty much what it looks like. It's a tight turn, but it's a great view. And a beautiful dusk photo. And there you can see the greenery is in bloom, the grape vines and the reflecting pool, all of the fantastic lighting inside the house with the floor to ceiling windows and doors. And in just a moment, we're going to be getting back on with Eric and Amanda. You ready?
All right, so we are back in the Great Hall in one of the many spaces here that was really designed for entertaining and family life. We've got this lovely fire here. It's very warm. Appreciate that on this crisp morning. I want to again invite our viewers to pose your questions in the Facebook comments. We will ask them and hopefully we won't stump Amanda, but you know, we'll see. We might put her knowledge to the test. Have we gotten any questions yet?
We have. So Beth has asked, is the glass in the crow's nest from Pittsburgh plate glass?
It is from Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh plate glass, I'm not certain of. I do know that it came from Pennsylvania.
We don't need Heidi. We don't need Heidi.
We're having a couple technical difficulties.
Are you muted now?
Okay, that works. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. So another question from SJ is, as Mr. Wright often left exterior wood unfinished, will that ever change to preserve what's there now?
So is the exterior wood on the house finished in any way, and
No.
has that changed over time?
It is original. He liked the way it weathers to that silvery gray. In my materials, I did read that the third wife didn't really care for the way it was weathering. At one point, they did a bleach wash to it. But so, yeah.
Have they restored it since
Well,
then?
I think it just went back and weathered, went on and came back and weathered to its natural state as it should have been.
And remind us what kind of wood it is?
It's Tidewater red cypress, and he likes it because it doesn't rot and it weathers to that wonderful gray, silvery, kind of like a tree.
And do you know what the wood in here is?
The interior wood is white oak veneer.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so Razine is asking, are there any major alterations since Mr. Wright designed it?
Well, I think to make it a conference center, right?
Exactly. Took about 2 years. And then what they basically did was take out walls, bathrooms, and built-ins. The upstairs level, those spaces were turned into what we call breakout rooms. If you were having a conference here and you wanted to get into small meeting groups, you would use those spaces upstairs.
We also have a question that says, well, first a comment. Wright is known for being uncooperative with clients, so it's nice to hear how he incorporated requests. Are there any anecdotes about Wright and the owners during and after it was built?
Many. There's quite a few. Yeah, it was stated that by Karen that he really loved children, and that is why their father encouraged them to write letters to him with those requests, which were the swimming pool, the crow's nest, and the Juliet balcony. Other anecdotes.
Well, my favorite that you told us the other night was about the famously leaky roofs.
Oh.
Of course, we have to acknowledge that. And what did you tell us that Mr. Johnson called Mr. Wright one day in the middle of a dinner party?
So our roof leaked immediately, but Mr. Johnson did hope that by caulking it would have repaired it, but it didn't work. And he was hosting a very important dinner party here, sitting around the dining room table, and it started to rain, and unfortunately it was dripping right down his head. And so of course he was quite embarrassed and said, bring a phone to the table. And in front of all his guests, he called up Mr. Wright down to Taliesin West. He got him on the phone and he said, Frank, I'm sitting in this beautiful home you designed for me, and I love it, but it leaks, and it's leaking right now on my head. What do you suggest I do? And his answer was, Hib, why don't you move your chair?
Of course, this is a problem that the Johnson Foundation has largely been able to solve now, right?
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about what was done. I mean, it's such a remarkable roof with so many windows.
They did have a roof repair that did take about 2 years, and they removed the entire roof. They reinforced it with steel, and they added a boat composite on the outside. And how they came about understanding how to do the repairs was by bringing in a boat manufacturer, because if you see the roof, if you tip it upside down, it looks like the bottom of a boat. And so that's why they use those kind of things to correct those leaking roof.
So SJ is asking, and actually I had the same question, is the dining room table still movable?
Not movable going back behind the scenes. We move it around quite a bit and use it in other spaces because we utilize it, and it does still have the wheels on it.
But I think you told us when we had our first dinner here the other night that it was used one time. It's kind of like the vertical fireplace. It was used one time, and people did not enjoy that.
It was designed to roll back behind the scenes so that it all could be cleared out so the guests didn't see it. But it's another story that's kind of funny. Apparently, the first time that they used it, it wasn't announced that the table was going to roll away, and people are sitting around the table and it started to roll away. In fact, Mr. Johnson's mother was here and she was mid-bite, and there goes the table, and the conversation stopped dead. It was the exact opposite of what Mr. Wright thought that it would do by continuing the conversation. And so she said, don't ever use it again.
So the idea was instead of having servers clear the plates, the table would remove itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can see how that would really cause everybody to stop and watch.
But he tried it.
Yeah, no, you have to love the innovation, even if they don't always work.
Exactly.
Do we have any other?
Yes, so as a conference center, Don is asking how many events can be run simultaneously?
Generally, I think we try to just have one, but we at times have probably two at the most.
And what kinds of conferences are held here?
Well, the foundation has their side, and so they right now are working with what we call as resilient communities. And then we also have our rec side where we have other businesses can utilize our space.
It's a great place for a retreat, as I think we can all
Definitely.
attest after the last couple of
I
days.
hear such wonderful comments about how it's just the best space to really have a meeting and get successful results.
And you can have about 40 people here, I think.
Yes, there's
about the
40
number
sleeping
that we-
rooms at our guest house.
So this is an interesting question. So the interior design of Wingspread might be different from other prairie homes, but would you consider the whole building a prairie or Usonian?
This home is the largest and last prairie style home.
Is that the official answer? I don't know enough to.
That's what yeah.
But you can really see, I mean, if you look at this fireplace in isolation, it is so 1930s. It's so like streamlined almost to me. And especially when you see the crow's nest with that curved glass and metal, like you can imagine, and we know that Wright was fascinated with cars, and like you can imagine that somebody just plucked that crow's nest off of a 1930s car and put it on top of this house. It's so cool.
Well, how much did the building cost originally?
$434,000.
which
inflation adjusted is a really big number.
Yes.
This was a lavish house at 14,000
definitely,
square feet.
Definitely. And how long did the family live here, and at what point did it get turned into a conference center?
They lived here for 20 years, from 1939 until 1959. And then it took 2 years to make the changes to accommodate the needs of the conference center.
Now, when they left, they didn't move far.
They
right?
didn't move far. The third wife chose her own architect, and they built their home, which we call the house, very close, just right on the other side of the east wing. And they lived there for another 20 years. And then after they passed away, we turned that building into the conference center. And we basically now use Wingspread for hospitality and meals, and then our public tours as well.
So I think as we get close to wrapping up here, the final question we always like to ask, since we've got people watching who maybe have not had the opportunity to come here themselves, can people come visit?
They can come visit. We have a website, well, you can go to the Johnson Foundation, johnsonfdn.org. There's a spot on there that says visit, and then you'll get to a scheduling site, and you actually can schedule tours for here at Wingspread and the SC Johnson Administration Building as well.
So if you're passing through between Chicago and Milwaukee, it's a must-see stop here in Racine. There's so much. You should plan to spend the whole day. It's absolutely worth it.
And I'll add another bonus to it. The tours are free.
That is especially enticing. What we wanted to do, since we have all of our Wright site directors here and they've been enjoying this beautiful campus for the last few days, we actually asked them to capture their own photos of the campus, and we wanted to showcase some of their beautiful photos so that they can see, so that you can see how they've experienced their visit here. So I'm going to ask Allison to put those up. I'll sort of tell you what we're seeing. Obviously, mostly photos in the main house, looking at the Great Hall there. That's from Peggy Bang of Mason City, Iowa, with the Wright on the park and the inn there. Next slide. So there's your amazing shot of the Great Hall. That was taken by Abby Brock, our colleague who's the curator of the Hollyhock House in Los Angeles. Go to the next. Another photo by Abby, just showing you a nice vertical view here of the Great Hall. Next slide. Oh, this is mine. I had to sneak my own photos in here. Just that incredible, again, you really see that boat-like aspect of the roof over the Great Hall. That's the view from the mezzanine. Little wider angle than we were able to do on the video. Next slide. And then the little nook where we're sitting right now, actually, when we had the fire going last night. Next slide. And looking straight down the spiral stairs from the top, the crow's nest. Anna Kaplan from Grey Cliff Conservancy took this photo. Next slide. And looking at the stairs going up to the mezzanine, right, Anna? Next slide. Another view taken by Heidi Ruley of Unity Temple Restoration Foundation, showing that spiral staircase in all of its glorious metallic detail. Next slide. And that vertical fireplace that only worked once. Next slide. Our colleague Marta Wojcik, the executive director of the Westcott House Foundation, is perhaps our most artistically inclined photographer. I don't exactly know what this is. It's obviously some curved brick. I don't know where, somewhere in this house, but beautiful. Next slide. And then looking up through one of the skylights, you can see the grapevines that encircle a lot of the house at night. This was taken last night as well. Next slide. And Scott Perkins from Falling Water took this photo of just the beautiful pattern of light and shadow that was coming through yesterday afternoon here in the Great Hall. Next slide. And then the little reading nook off to the side, also taken by Scott. Next slide. And Sydney Papenchak from Polymath Park gave us this photo, again, of our cozy little nook that we're sitting in right now. Definitely, I think, one of everyone's favorite places here. Next slide. And another view, vertical view of the Great Hall. Next slide. And then this is from Tammy Stanko, who represents the Affleck House near Detroit. And these are the resident geese who I think are convinced that they own the place. They are all over honking constantly, but there's plenty of wildlife here, the deer galloping around, even wild turkeys that we saw. Next slide. Tammy also captured something that none of us managed to get a picture of, which is the built-in record player. Actually, Amanda, can you explain a little bit about that?
That is a Seabird music system. It's pre-jukebox, and it was something that was generally not put into homes. It was more for a car dealership or a department store because it can play continuous music. It can actually play 200 records if you play both sides. So just a really nice way to bring music into the home.
And it's built into a gorgeous built-in in the dining room here in the Great Hall. Next slide. And then an exterior view from Justin Gunther, the director of Falling Water. You can really see the cantilever and the Juliet balcony at the end of the wing that we just visited. Of course, it's early March in the Midwest, so we don't have all the lush landscaping that you saw in the previous photo. Next slide. And then actually a submission from a visitor who came at another time of year. This is from Terry Cahill, showing a detail in winter with what appears to be a large quantity of snow. So I think that's our final image from all of these. Again, it's been such a treat for us all to be here and enjoy this beautiful place. Amanda, I really want to thank you for giving us all our live tour, and then also, being willing to go on this Wright Virtual Visits adventure with us. I hope it's gone smoothly for viewers. I feel like we've had a good time. Thank you. So before we break, I just want to announce, of course, that we hope everyone will consider tuning in for the next episode of Wright Virtual Visits. This will be on Thursday, April 14th. We'll go back to our normal time. This will be a more normal episode that will feature, two sites side by side. And the theme will actually be Wright's Studios. We'll be going to Taliesin in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And then we will also be showing the reconstructed form of Wright's San Francisco office, which is now located at the Hagen History Center in Erie, Pennsylvania. So again, mark your calendars, April 14th, we'll get the event up on the Facebook page, and we hope to see many of you there. I think with that, we will sign off. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Anna and Heidi, and take care.